The school day begins at Jiam Elementary, where a mysterious voice considers the unfolding situation. The black-haired girl, Kim Lumen, records a confident video while her acting skills are put to the test. Classmates surround Lumen, marveling at how her performance perfectly mimics the famous star, Jung Ha-jin. In the hallway, other students gossip about the beautiful and talented popular YouTuber known as Lurumi. Ding dong! The school bell chimes as Lumen walks home with her two brown-haired friends. Her friends tease her about her obsession with Jung Ha-jin, noticing her constant imitations of the actress. Lumen happily defends her admiration, calling Jung Ha-jin the most beautiful and talented actress in Korea. Her friend with the ponytail asks to visit her home, noting she has never been invited there. Lumen awkwardly declines, claiming her mother dislikes guests, but offers to buy them food to compensate. She spots the bus arriving and quickly says goodbye, eager to head home by herself. Her friends wave from the sidewalk as Lumen boards the bus, her expression turning somber and isolated. Clinging to her backpack straps, Lumen stares ahead with a gaze full of hidden determination and pain. The truth is revealed as Lumen arrives not at a house, but at the local orphanage. Imaginary voices of her friends haunt her, accusing her of being a liar for hiding her circumstances. Tak! She enters the building, reflecting on the difficulty of managing her social media accounts as a minor. A flashback to a hospital monitor recalls the day her mother was diagnosed with cancer. Her brown-haired father cruelly pushes Lumen away, telling her she is in the way of his new life. Following the funeral, her father and his mistress callously celebrate the insurance money they will inherit. The scene shifts back to the orphanage, where Lumen's former life was permanently left behind. Her father glares with cold indifference, ordering her to stay and live at the orphanage from now on. Buck! The black car speeds away, leaving the young black-haired girl standing alone and abandoned. Tears stream down Lumen's face as the crushing reality of being discarded by her only family sets in. She stares with intense hatred, declaring that the man is no longer worthy of being called her father. Lumen finds solace in a poster of the megastar Jung Ha-jin, choosing a new idol to follow. She decides to believe that Jung Ha-jin is her true father, a fantasy born from her loneliness. Watching a movie, she notes their visual similarities and convinces herself they are biologically connected. In her sparse room, Lumen spends every night watching her idol, her obsession growing deeper with time. She records herself acting, believing that to be his daughter, she must naturally possess his great talent. Tucked in bed, she uses her phone to perfect her craft, fueled by a desperate desire for connection. She wonders if the famous actress has seen her viral imitations and what she would think of them. A memory or vision of Jung Ha-jin reacting with surprise flashes through her mind. Dark clouds gather over the school, signaling a sudden and violent shift in her quiet life. Lumen enters her classroom to find a group of students staring her down with hostile, judgmental expressions. Ta-da-da! Her friends rush toward her, aggressively accusing her of lying about her family and background. They berate her for pretending to be wealthy when her true living situation has been exposed. Her classmates demand she look at a link where her personal history has been leaked online. A social media post reveals the heartbreaking story of an abandoned child, now public for everyone to see. Lumen gasps in horror, reading the false claims that she is the star's illegitimate child. She frantically tries to deny the rumors, asserting that the affair and the connection are total lies. Her friends confront her with reports from other students who saw her entering the orphanage. Lumen stands paralyzed, realizing that while her home was a secret, the other rumors are far worse. She tearfully apologizes for lying about the orphanage while begging them to believe her about the actress. Tuck! Her phone slips from her hand as she realizes her reputation is being systematically destroyed. Gossip spreads through the hallways as everyone begins to believe the malicious lie about her origins. Lumen trembles with fear and rage, wondering who could have posted such a life-altering falsehood. She flees through the school corridor, feeling as though her entire world has been ruined in an instant. Desperation takes over as she fears that the hatred of her peers will follow her forever. Da-da, da-da! She runs outside, unaware that a figure is watching her from the shadows. Quack! A man with messy brown hair suddenly grabs her arm, calling out her name with a grin. Lumen freezes in terror as she comes face to face with her father, who has returned with a sinister expression. Pulling her along, the messy-haired man drags the terrified Lumen toward a waiting black car. Lumen cowers in the back seat as the manic man, his arms covered in bruises, takes control. While they speed away, Lumen screams about getting a paternity test with the famous star Jung Ha-jin. The man rants with crazed eyes, accusing her mother of having an affair and calling Lumen a liar. He screams in Lumen's face, demanding to know why she looks so much like his celebrity rival. Grinning wickedly, the man shows off his bruised arms while claiming she could never truly fool him. He blames her mother and Jung Ha-jin for his ruin just before a sudden, violent jolt strikes. Dalkung. The car swerves wildly across the highway as Lumen screams desperately for him to let her out. Lumen's eyes widen in absolute terror as a utility pole suddenly looms directly in their path. A deafening quang rings out through the air as the speeding car makes a direct, devastating impact. Pshh! Steam and smoke hiss from the wreckage of the black car as it sits crumpled against the pole. Lumen slowly opens her eyes in a hospital room, finding two men watching her with deep concern. Lying weak in bed, Lumen stares up at the curly-haired doctor and the silent, black-haired Jung Ha-jin. The famous actor, Jung Ha-jin, gazes down at her with a heavy expression full of unspoken emotions. Lumen whispers, wondering if this is a dream, but Jung Ha-jin solemnly confirms it is real. Sitting up, Lumen listens intently as the doctor and the star prepare to reveal her true history. A close-up of Lumen captures her dazed expression as she reflects on finally waking up from the nightmare. Jung Ha-jin maintains his calm, intense gaze, his presence filling the room with a sense of gravity. The actor remains silent, his focused expression revealing the complexity of the situation they now face. Still overwhelmed by the presence of her idol, Lumen wonders again if her mind is playing tricks. Lumen gasps in shock as she hears that her former father posted malicious lies about her online. Jung Ha-jin drops a bombshell, declaring that she is actually his biological daughter, leaving Lumen completely stunned. He explains that he verified the truth with a paternity test while she was unconscious in the hospital. Lumen leans forward in disbelief, struggling to understand how her secret fantasy could possibly be a reality. Her jaw drops as the clinical details of her conception through sperm donation are finally brought to light. Startled, Lumen visualizes the medical process as she tries to grasp the bizarre truth of her origins. The doctor, Woo-jin, explains that her father's infertility led her mother to seek help at a bank. Looking back at her childhood, Lumen realizes her father's cruelty was fueled by his hidden lack of sperm. Woo-jin reveals that he personally asked his brother, Jung Ha-jin, to be the donor for her mother. Adjusting his glasses with a smile, Woo-jin introduces himself as her uncle and Jung Ha-jin's younger brother. Confused by the sudden family reunion, Lumen asks what happened to the man who raised her. A somber silence falls over both men as they look away, reluctant to share the grim details. Woo-jin gently evades the question, mentioning the man is also hospitalized, and they will talk later. Alone with her thoughts, Lumen decides to search her phone for the truth about the car crash. She asks for her device, and Woojin explains that her teacher safely turned it in at school. Suck. Woojin pulls the pink phone from his pocket and hands it over as Jung Hajin watches. Flashing a friendly smile, her new uncle promises to return soon, before leaving her to rest. Lumen clutches her face in pure, unadulterated joy as the reality of her lineage sets in. He is ecstatic, realizing that the star she admired for years is actually her real biological father. Relief washes over her as she concludes her father only abandoned her because they weren't blood relatives. She envisions a future filled with happiness and affection, finally belonging to her real dad, Jung Hajin. Sitting by the window, Lumen's silhouette is reflected as she begins scrolling through the viral news articles. Her expression turns serious as she focuses on the screen, determined to see what the world is saying. Headlines expose her former father as a drug-addicted blackmailer who attacked the star's reputation for money. Lumen watches an imaginary vision of the man screaming behind prison bars, wondering if that is his fate. Shaking off the dark memories, she decides not to dwell on the man who caused her so much pain. Feeling too restless to stay in bed, the young girl prepares to take a walk around the ward. Stepping into the hallway, she is immediately stopped by a tall bodyguard in sunglasses who questions her movements. The bodyguard politely but firmly tells her to stay on this floor and not wander too far away. Lumen notes the constant watch of a suited bodyguard as she prepares for her walk. She wanders down the quiet, empty hospital hallway, feeling completely isolated in her new reality. Passing the lounge area, Lumen remains alone with her thoughts as the hospital remains eerily silent. Looking through a window, she spots Woojin and Jung Hajin engaged in an intense conversation outside. Woojin scolds his brother's coldness, while Hajin insists he has no legal responsibility to the child. Lumen's eyes widen in shock as she overhears the harsh truth of her biological father's rejection. Hajin turns away, bluntly stating he will never raise Lumen as his own daughter. The actor maintains a cold, detached expression, seemingly unaffected by the weight of his decision. Lumen stands frozen, her heart breaking as the fantasy of a loving father completely vanishes. She realizes how foolish her assumptions were, questioning why she expected Hajin to welcome her so easily. Woojin yells at his brother's lack of humanity, but Hajin stands firm on his legal rights. Hajin points out that accepting her would end his career and his chance for a normal life. Woojin asks if having a child would be better than a lifetime of loneliness, pressing Hajin's conscience. Hajin rubs his face in frustration, his resolve momentarily wavering under the weight of his brother's words. Woojin continues to plead with his brother, unaware that Lumen is watching them from the shadows. The two men freeze as they notice Lumen standing at the glass door, having heard everything. Woojin cries out her name in panic, realizing the young girl's trauma has only deepened. Later, Woojin checks on Lumen in her room, trying to offer comfort after the devastating revelation. The doctor gently defends his brother, claiming Hajin is simply overwhelmed and not thinking clearly. Lumen appreciates her uncle's kindness, but remains deeply wounded by Hajin's cold and public rejection. She can't stop hearing his voice declaring that he never once wanted to have a child. The memory of him washing his hands of his responsibility plays on a loop in her mind. Lying alone, she accepts that her existence is technically not his responsibility, yet she still feels abandoned. Despite everything, Lumen's heart still longs for Jung Hajin to be the father she always dreamed of. Watching the sunset, she desperately wishes for him to love her like a real daughter. Sometime later, a cheerful Woojin shows Lumen her new, brightly lit bedroom with a playful ta-da. He proudly presents the room, hoping she likes the way he and others helped decorate it. Lumen is delighted by the clean, pretty space, feeling a rare moment of genuine happiness. She hopes to live happily with her dad, while Woo-jin promises to stay until she is comfortable. Lumin credits her uncle's hard work for convincing the agency and Hajin to let her move in. She walks through the house with Woo-jin, feeling the change in her environment, but sensing the distance. The caption confirms that she has officially begun her new life living under Hajin's roof. Woo-jin explains he must leave for work, apologizing for his brief visit as Lumin sees him off. He warns her to report any mistreatment by Hajin before saying goodbye to his niece. The scene shifts from the quiet hallway as Hajin sits silently on the sofa, clutching his papers. Lumin reflects on the cold atmosphere that has persisted since her first day out of the hospital. Approaching him nervously, she asks if he has ever seen her popular videos on YouTube. Hajin listens as she mentions her channel, Lurumi, while his expression remains indifferent and distant. Blushing, Lumin offers to show her acting imitations, but Hajin coldly tells her it won't change anything. He covers his eyes, stating that bringing her home was a formality, not a desire for fatherhood. Hajin stands firm, declaring he will be a legal guardian on paper and provide financial help only. Lumin is shocked into silence, her purple eyes wide as her hopes for a family are crushed. Hajin turns his back, stating that a real father-daughter connection is more than he can handle. Looking down, Lumin feels the weight of his rejection as her dream of belonging slips away. A single tear falls from her eye, capturing her silent heartbreak at his cold declaration. Hajin heads toward the exit, ordering her to stay home while he goes to the set. Lumin watches him go, his reflection visible in her tear-filled eye as he leaves her behind. Lumin's hand suddenly reaches out and grabs his black shirt with a desperate, tight grip. With her head bowed, she quietly asks Hajin to take her with him to the studio. She reminds him of his guardianship while declaring her absolute determination to become a great actor. Jung Hajin's gaze remains heavy and thoughtful as the weight of Lumin's request hangs in the air. Lumin's eyes flash with desperation as she begs her father for a chance to witness his world firsthand. Her intense purple gaze reflects a fierce determination to prove herself, regardless of his cold initial rejection. A white van travels along a scenic mountain road, carrying the unlikely pair toward the filming location. Sitting in the back seat, Lumin's resolve remains unshaken as she reiterates that seeing the set is vital. Hajin remains silent while reading his script, seemingly ignoring the young girl sitting beside him in the van. Watching his profile, Lumin holds onto a sliver of hope that her father's feelings might be changing. The vehicle continues its journey toward the studio, leaving the city behind as the sun begins to set. Wow! Lumin's lights up with joy as they finally arrive at the bustling, expansive film studio. Excited staff members rush to greet the famous actor, their voices echoing through the large, open space. The crew is stunned by Lumin's appearance, marveling at how she and Hajin look like a copy and paste pair. A collective gasp of surprise ripples through the group as they process the news of Hajin's mysterious companion. While the staff urges Hajin to see the director, he wonders if Lumin is uncomfortable with the sibling comparisons. A friendly staff member with curly hair approaches Lumin, noticing her quiet presence amidst the studio chaos. He leans in with a kind smile, asking what she plans to do while the adults are busy working. Lumin asks to watch the filming, but the man explains it won't start soon and he's too busy to guide her. Her eyes sparkle as she asks for a script instead, a request that clearly impresses the busy manager. He hands her the pages and instructs her to stay safely inside the van while she reads. Lumin makes him promise to call her when the cameras start rolling, and he enthusiastically agrees. Alone in the quiet van, the young girl becomes completely absorbed in the complex world of the script. The pages reveal the story of Gyeongsang Gumiho, a supernatural drama starring her father as a mysterious nine-tailed fox. Time seems to stand still as Lumin grows more and more curious about how the thrilling story unfolds. Myang! She sits in a wide-eyed daze, her mind reeling from the incredible quality of the professional screenplay. Her heart races with anticipation, wishing the time would pass faster so she could finally witness the magic. Huck! A sudden realization strikes her as she notices the deepening shadow stretching across the van's interior. Panic sets in as she wonders exactly how much time has passed while she was lost in reading. Sliding, throws open the van door and leaps out, her heart sinking as she sees the dark studio. Da-da-da! She sprints across the pavement, cursing herself for getting so distracted by the fascinating script. Reaching the outdoor set, she finds the crew gathered under the bright lights of a nighttime shoot. Lumen confronts the manager, only to be devastated when he admits he forgot to call her and filming finished. An oppressive aura of frustration surrounds her as she laments the missed opportunity to prove her dedication. She clenches her jaw in anger, feeling like a fool for being stuck in a corner during the actual shoot. Lumen fears that Hajin will now dismiss her as a mere attention seeker rather than a serious, aspiring actress. The bright studio lights seem to mock her as she worries she'll never be allowed on a set again. Standing alone in the shadows, her small figure radiates a profound sense of dejection and missed potential. A sharp cry rings out, drawing Lumen's attention to a sudden, chaotic commotion occurring on the main set. Tensions boil over as a child actress collapses, with witnesses claiming she is suffering from a severe panic attack. Panic erupts as people scream for an ambulance, while Hajin arrives, surveying the scene with an intense expression. Dressed in his period costume, the actor remains calm, his sharp eyes taking in the gravity of the medical emergency. The director clutches his head in despair, terrified that the sudden collapse will ruin the entire production schedule. Arguments break out about the delay while Lumen watches from the sidelines, her mind beginning to race with possibilities. Turning around, the director spots Lumen and asks about her identity, leading someone to mention her connection to Hajin. In that pivotal moment, Lumen realizes that a rare and unexpected door has suddenly swung wide open for her. She knows this is her one true chance to show her talent and finally earn her father's recognition. The desperate director begs her to help, and Lumen accepts the challenge with a look of unwavering determination. Kong Kong, he jumps for joy, shouting for his staff to bring her the script and prepare for the shoot. The crew marvels at the girl's confidence, wondering how such a small child can possess such an aura. Lumen emerges transformed, wearing a traditional hanbok that highlights her uncanny resemblance to a younger version of Hajin's character. Stylists finish the final touches in the makeup room, noting how her presence will make the scene unforgettable. Standing before the cameras, Lumen takes a deep breath, realizing her dream of acting is finally becoming a reality. Lumen steels herself, her purple eyes filled with resolve as she prepares for her first professional acting scene. The manager places a reassuring hand on her shoulder, greeting the young girl before the cameras start rolling. With an encouraging expression, he urges her to relax and enjoy the experience, despite the high-stakes environment. He advises her to treat it like a YouTube video, reminding her that people are forgiving of children. Walking onto the set in her hanbok, Lun remains silent and focused as she ignores the bustling crew. She stands alone amidst the studio equipment, looking small but dignified as the crew prepares the upcoming shot. The script description details a tragic scene where young Jaho discovers her mother's corpse and vows to take revenge. Lumen offers a polite bow to the staff, maintaining her composure as the pressure of the moment intensifies. As the director orders everyone to their marks, Lumen walks toward the center of the traditional house set. The scene begins with Jaho standing over her mother's body, the weight of the tragedy settling over her. A memory of her mother in a hospital gown flashes through her mind, promising to watch over her forever. The image of her mother's funeral portrait serves as a painful reminder of the life she lost too soon. Returning to the present, Lumen gazes down at the actress playing her deceased mother on the woven mat. She stands perfectly still, her head bowed in a heavy silence that makes the surrounding staff lean in curiously. Suddenly looking up, Lumen's eyes widen with a desperate, frantic energy as she questions if this is really happening. She begs the man in the scene for the truth, her voice trembling with the weight of denial and shock. The crew watches in surprise, noting that she has deviated from the script's instruction to burst into tears. Tensions rise behind the cameras as the staff realizes Lumen is taking the performance in a new direction. Instead of crying, Lumen lets out a heartbreaking smile, her voice conveying a pain far deeper than simple tears. The actor playing opposite her is stunned into silence by the raw, haunting intensity of the young girl's performance. Lumen finally breaks down, letting out a gut-wrenching scream for her mother that echoes throughout the entire studio. She struggles against the man's grip, her face distorted by grief as she vows to kill her mother's murderer. The actor tells the little fox to stay, while the crew watches, mesmerized by her sheer emotional power. Jung Ha-jin watches from the sidelines, his expression frozen in shock as he witnesses his daughter's incredible talent firsthand. The scene concludes with a wide shot of the set, the heavy atmosphere of the tragedy lingering over everyone. Wah! The manager raises his hand and shouts for a cut, his face beaming with pure, unadulterated joy. He rushes over to Lumen, excitedly asking if she truly has never taken any professional acting lessons before. After Lumen confirms she is self-taught, the manager turns to Ha-jin and declares that the girl is a genius. The staff members are moved to tears, praising Lumen's ability to pull off such complex emotions so effortlessly. Ha-jin smiles thoughtfully, wondering if she has the potential to win a prestigious Huo Award in the future. Lumen is stunned by the high praise, while the manager notes that such awards also require immense luck. She notices that while others look at her with admiration, Ha-jin's gaze remains analytical and deeply intense. A close-up of Lumen's eye reflects her growing awareness of her father's shifting and complicated perception of her. Ha-jin rests his chin on his hand, silently evaluating if the girl is measuring his worth as a parent. Later that night, Ha-jin tells Lumen to call him Dad as they walk together toward the city lights. Lumen is struck by a bolt of shock, unable to process the sudden change in his cold demeanor. She recalls his earlier rejection, finding it hard to believe he is now acknowledging her as his daughter. Lying in bed, she struggles to feel the happiness she expected, haunted by the weight of his expectations. The memory of his comment about the Huo Award lingers, making her feel like his love is conditional. She stares at a mental image of the golden trophy, wondering if that is the price of his acknowledgement. Tang! The trophy shatters in her mind as she fears that failing to reach the top means losing everything. A dark abyss swallows her thoughts as she dreads the possibility of being sent back to the orphanage. Clenching her teeth, Lumen vows to never let her life fall apart or return to her past misery. She looks back at Ha-jin's silhouette, determined to prove her worth and keep her new home at any cost. A clip of her performance goes viral on a phone screen, quickly becoming a sensation across the internet. School children gather around Lumen, excitedly praising her acting and admitting that her performance made them all cry. As the school day ends, the sounds of happy goodbyes fill the air while the students head home. Lumen waves goodbye to a classmate before heading toward a sleek white car waiting for her at the curb. Her face lights up with a radiant smile, her purple eyes glowing with the thrill of her newfound success. Sitting in the car, she thinks about how she finally feels like a real actress with a bright future. Lumen approaches a girl sitting alone on a wooden bench inside a bright, modern studio. The girl with messy brown hair greets Lumen with a wave, prompting an uncertain response back. Recognizing Lumen from her recent hit drama, the girl enthusiastically praises her incredible acting performance. Beaming with a wide, friendly smile, the brown-haired girl introduces herself as Mo Hirei. Mo Hirei invites Lumen to sit, admitting she only got into the academy through sheer luck. Her eyes sparkle with genuine excitement as she expresses how happy she is to be there. Lumen offers a bright, encouraging smile in return, happy to have made a new friend. 4 students sit in a row on the bench, waiting quietly for their acting lesson to begin. The instructor introduces Lumen as a professional child actor, encouraging the other students to learn from her. A silver-haired boy suddenly enters the room, catching Lumen's eye with his striking, ethereal appearance. Lumen is mesmerized by the latecomer, thinking he looks like an angel while the teacher scolds him. The silver-haired boy, Ido, takes a seat on the bench as the lesson officially gets underway. The instructor explains that today's practice involves expressing deep emotions through the use of monologues. She presents a scenario where the children are being left behind while their parents go on a trip. Mo Hirei looks visibly struck by the prompt, her expression turning serious as she prepares her scene. Mo Hirei steps out in front of the camera, appearing nervous as she prepares to perform. Performing her monologue, Mo Hirei asks for a gift to be brought back for her. She hesitates during the performance, her eyes searching for the right words to finish her thought. Suddenly shouting her request for dried mango, Hirei's performance ends on a somewhat awkward, simplistic note. The instructor notes that Hirei struggled while trying to stick strictly to the lines she had prepared. Ido takes his turn, throwing a dramatic temper tantrum on the floor and demanding to go along. His expression hardens as he rejects the offer of gifts, claiming he doesn't need them at all. Ido's mood shifts instantly as he agrees to stay home if his allowance is raised instead. Standing tall and confident, Ido finishes his performance while the instructor watches from behind the camera. He jumps with joy in the scene, declaring he will do whatever he wants while alone. The other children watch intently as Lumen prepares to take her turn in front of the lens. Lumen delivers a chilling performance, accusing her parents of lying about a trip to hide a surgery. The rest of the class sits in stunned silence, overwhelmed by the raw intensity of Lumen's acting. She stands perfectly still after the scene, the heavy, somber atmosphere of her performance lingering in the room. The instructor is deeply moved, marveling at Lumen's professional ability to internalize such complex, painful emotions. The silence is broken by Ido's blunt comment about Lumen's real-life tragedy, shocking everyone in the room. Ido offers a carefree, mischievous smile, seemingly unaware of how insensitive his remark actually was. Wah! The room erupts in tension as the teacher scolds Ido for speaking so heartlessly to Lumen. Ido defends himself with a shout, revealing his own mother died in a plane crash with a loud boom. Later, the instructor sits with Lumen, explaining that while Ido isn't bad, he often goes too far. She asks if Lumen remembers a famous news story about a wealthy family's tragic plane crash accident. The teacher reveals the victim was Ido's mother, explaining that his lightheartedness hides a deep, secret longing. She asks Lumen not to think too poorly of him, understanding his rudeness comes from shared pain. Lumen realizes with a start that Ido's earlier outburst about his mother was actually the truth. The instructor shifts the topic, encouraging Lumen to try out for an upcoming supporting role audition. A white car speeds through the city streets as the sun sets behind the towering skyscrapers. Sitting in the back seat, Lumen uses her phone to research the historical drama mentioned by her teacher. She learns the story is a tragic romance and worries about her lack of experience in historical roles. Back at home, Hajin looks over the script, casually dismissive of the audition's difficulty for someone like her. He mentions that the lead role will likely go to a legendary child actress named Jin So-yul. Lumin is baffled to hear that her peer has been a professional actress since she was a newborn. Hajin warns her that Jin So-yul is a veteran who performs at the level of a seasoned adult. He asks if she has ever attempted historical acting before, and Lumin honestly admits she hasn't. Hajin presents a rigorous new schedule on a tablet, showing her exactly how much work lies ahead. Lumin's jaw drops in horror as she realizes her entire life is now consumed by acting training. Hajin tells Lumin that if she truly inherits his talent, she should easily handle the intense training ahead. Narrative text confirms the start of 3 weeks of grueling training as a massive stack of scripts looms large. Hajin stands over Lumin, explaining she must master the specific vocabulary and traditional tones required for historical dramas. He hands her a novel titled Uin Yongjeon, demanding she read it during her school breaks to deepen her understanding. Hajin meticulously critiques her posture in a hanbok, later ordering her to analyze how seasoned actors utilize their silence. Looking like a ghost of her former self, Lumin stumbles through the house, completely drained by the relentless schedule. As Lumin collapses onto her bed in exhaustion, the man with glasses watches with growing concern for her well-being. Bursting into the office, the manager confronts Hajin, questioning if he is even allowing the young girl enough sleep. Hajin remains coldly composed, asserting that he ensures Lumin receives exactly 8 hours of rest every single day. The manager slams his hands down, shouting that an 11-year-old child needs much more than just the bare minimum. He argues that children her age require nearly 12 hours of sleep, while Lumin sits awake in the dark, bewildered. The manager continues his heated lecture, insisting that overworking her is cruel since she cannot easily assert herself to Hajin. Hajin rubs his temple in frustration, dismissively claiming that this high-pressure environment is only for a brief, necessary period. He argues that compared to established child actors, Lumin is starting her career at a significant and dangerous disadvantage. From behind the wall, Lumin listens as Hajin notes that peers like Jin So-yul are already veteran performers. A sharp chill runs through Lumin as she realizes the sheer scale of the competition she is expected to beat. The manager stares back with a somber, conflicted expression, realizing how deeply Hajin's own past regrets are fueling this pressure. Memory panels show a younger man lamenting his late start in acting, his desperation echoing through the manager's current worries. The sun shines brightly over the media center building as the long-awaited day of the high-stakes audition finally arrives. Near a vending machine, a brown-haired girl bows politely, greeting Hajin as her senior, while Lumin watches from his side. Lumin stares intently at the famous girl, the name Jin So-yul repeating in her mind like an ominous, recurring warning. Her gaze remains fixed and analytical, silently sizing up the veteran actress who stands as her primary rival today. With a practiced, friendly smile, Jin So-yul introduces herself to Lumin, claiming she has heard much about her recent success. A nearby adult praises both girls, suggesting their shared talent will surely lead them to work on the same project. So-yul and her companion offer a final bow before departing, leaving Hajin and Lumin alone in the quiet hallway. In a tense split screen, So-yul's calm profile contrasts sharply with Lumin's focused, wide-eyed determination as they prepare to compete. So-yul casts a subtle, mocking smirk back at Lumin, who reacts with a sudden bolt of surprise at the hidden hostility. As Hajin leads her away, So-yul thinks dismissively about Lumin's intense look, seemingly unimpressed by the newcomer's silent pressure. The hallway is filled with defeated children and their stressed parents, the heavy atmosphere of failure hanging over everyone. A young girl breaks down in tears, convinced she will fail simply because the legendary Jin So-yul is also auditioning. Lumin is shaken by the sight of her crying peers, the constant mention of So-yul's name weighing heavily on her heart. An instructor announces the audition task, miming a scene where a court lady forces a girl to eat rice porridge. Sitting among dozens of other young hopefuls, Lumen feels like a small island in a vast, overwhelming sea of competition. She clutches her script with trembling hands, her heart racing with nerves as the instructor calls for the next group. Standing in the center of the audition room, Lumen prepares to transform, her posture shifting as she enters her character's mindset. Narrative text explains the role of Jiran, a court lady who must desperately force food upon her companion to survive. Lumen stands perfectly still, the world around her fading away as she mentally steps into the cold, historical palace setting. She begins her monologue, her hands moving through the air to mime holding a spoon with a forceful, uncompromising grip. In her imagination, she towers over the other character, her presence expanding to fill the room with an authoritative weight. Her eyes sharpen with a chilling, focused intensity, reflecting the desperate and iron-willed nature of the court lady she portrays. Lumen mimes the act of shoving food, her movements sharp and aggressive as she demands her silent partner swallow the porridge. A loud tsk echoes as Lumen mimes violently throwing a tray, her frustration boiling over in a display of raw emotion. She looks down at the empty space on the floor, her expression cold and pitiless as she dominates the invisible scene. A flickering image of her mother in a hospital gown appears, the memory of abandonment fueling Lumen's current performance. She recalls the cold faces of her past, blending those memories with Hajin's intense gaze to create a terrifyingly real presence. Lumen screams for the imaginary girl to eat, her face contorting with a frantic, desperate energy that shocks the silent judges. Gulp, her eyes bulge with manic power as she watches her imaginary victim finally yield to her overwhelming and terrifying will. After the scene ends, the instructor thinks about how Lumen's emotions can sweep others away before handing her some water. Watching from the shadows, Jin So-yul wears an expression of pure, unmasked shock, her earlier confidence shattered by Lumen's performance.